As the investigation into the deadly shooting in Las Cruces continues, we learn more about the criminal history of the lone adult who's been charged. Bernalillo County District Attorney Sam Bregman is voicing his displeasure over lawmakers not passing more legislation to deal with juvenile crime. And officials from local food banks and food pantries here in New Mexico are sounding the alarm about potential federal cuts to SNAP benefits and how they could affect New Mexico's population. From the Albuquerque Journal, this is the leading news. I'm Gino Gutierrez. It's Tuesday, March 25th, and I'll have more on those stories in a few moments, plus a look at the Journal's other headlines and Albuquerque's weather forecast on the other side of this break.
This episode is brought to you by the Kirtland Partnership Committee. For 30 years, we've been dedicated to supporting, growing, and preserving the Kirtland National Security Complex. We work tirelessly to enhance military readiness, foster community partnerships, improve quality of life, and promote economic development right here in New Mexico. Join us in our mission to ensure that Kirtland remains a cornerstone of national security and a key provider of quality jobs and investment for all of Greater Albuquerque. Together, we can make a powerful impact. Kirtland Partnership Committee, proudly shaping the future of our national security for 30 years.
Tomas Rivas, the only adult charged in Friday night's deadly Las Cruces shooting, has a criminal history tied to human smuggling. Texas court records show that in January 2024, the 20-year-old was charged with 4 counts of smuggling persons and evading arrest. He had also been arrested in 2021 at the age of 17 for transporting an undocumented immigrant. Prosecutors are using these past charges as evidence that Rivas is dangerous and should remain in custody as he faces new charges related to the shooting. The shooting took place at Young Park during an unsanctioned car show, leaving 3 people dead: 19-year-old Dominic Estrada, 16-year-old Andrew A.J. Madrid, and 17-year-old Jason Gomez. 15 other individuals were also injured. Rivas and 3 teenagers, 2 17-year-olds and 1 15-year-old, have each been charged with 3 counts of first-degree murder. Prosecutors do plan to charge all 4 as adults. According to court documents, at least 4 individuals fired into a crowd, and a witness stated that 2 groups pulled out guns and started shooting at each other. Rivas and one of the teens attempted to hide 4 semi-automatic pistols, including a 9mm, .40 caliber, and a .45 caliber in a dumpster. Another gun was later found in an apartment where one of the suspects had sought shelter. Prosecutors have filed a motion to keep Rivas in jail, citing his past criminal activity and alleged gang affiliations. Despite living in Las Cruces for a significant time and working as a car hop at Sonic, officials are arguing that he poses a public safety risk. The case sheds light on growing concerns along the U.S.-Mexico border, where teens are increasingly being recruited into smuggling and criminal operations.
I think, for the Albuquerque listeners who maybe aren't familiar with the Las Cruces community, I think that, like a lot of communities in the state, Las Cruces is in a very fractured place at the moment.
My colleague Justin Garcia is a reporter at the Albuquerque Journal.
There are people with very different views who feel very passionately about those views and push them very, very hard. And as a result, this event is being slowly but surely interpreted through those different lenses. It speaks to the multitudes of communities in Las Cruces, but it also speaks to some of the division as well.
Authorities, including Border Patrol, have been working with schools in the region for years to combat this issue. The outcome of Rivas' detention hearing, expected later this week, will be a key development in the case. The 2025 New Mexico legislative session made minimal progress in addressing violent juvenile crime, according to Bernalillo County District Attorney Sam Bregman. He criticized lawmakers for failing to enact meaningful reforms despite a rising trend in youth gun violence.
He's being careful not to name names or even say that it's politically motivated.
My colleague Colleen Heald is an investigative reporter for the Albuquerque Journal.
But he's saying collectively they appeared to be happy with the status quo as it relates to increasing juvenile crime.
The session did result in a ban on weapon conversion devices, or quote, Glock switches, in an effort to curb juvenile gun crimes. Additionally, lawmakers passed reforms related to criminal competency, auto theft, and fentanyl tracking. However, Bregman argues these measures fall far short of what is needed. Bregman's office proposed 36 amendments to the state's Children's Code in October 2024, but he said legislators largely ignored them. Key proposals include included charging juveniles as adults for crimes such as rape and drive-by shootings, expanding the maximum imprisonment age for youthful offenders from 21 to 25, and making unlawful firearm possession a felony. Despite bipartisan support for some bills, most juvenile crime legislation stalled. Bregman attributes this to lawmakers' reluctance to challenge the status quo. He pointed to cases like the May 2024 killing of a Sandia National Laboratories physicist, Scott Dwight Hammerell, who was fatally struck by a stolen car that was being driven by juveniles, one as young as 11. A video of the crash later surfaced on social media. Bregman argues that a lack of legal consequences has led to escalating criminal behavior among youth. Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham has signaled a possible special session on juvenile crime due to the legislature's inaction. Bregman remains hopeful, but warned that so far, lawmakers have been, quote, tone deaf to public concerns. New Mexico food bank leaders are warning that proposed budget cuts to the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP, could have dangerous consequences for the state's most vulnerable residents.
SNAP benefits are like the EBT card, so they help people buy groceries.
My colleague Kathy Cook covers the federal government for the Journal.
It's a food assistance program that's been around quite a while and that a lot of New Mexicans use. And they, according to Roadrunner Food Bank, they actually provide more meals than any of the food banks do because people are able to take their SNAP benefits and buy groceries with them directly.
SNAP provides significantly more food assistance than food banks, with every meal from a food pantry being supplemented by 9 meals from SNAP. That's according to Katie Anderson, Vice President of Strategy at Roadrunner Food Bank. Anderson also voiced her concerns about these potential cuts.
The groups that are going to suffer the most will be seniors and children here in New Mexico and the country at large. In essence, these decisions at the federal level are cutting off vital nutrition from all sides simultaneously. A strong, healthy nation is predicated on the fact that people have access to healthy, nutritious food. The people of this state and the people in this country deserve that.
Currently, nearly 487,113 New Mexicans rely on SNAP benefits, and the state had the highest rate of participation in the country in 2022, with 24% of residents enrolled. At a press conference hosted by Representative Melanie Stansberry at Roadrunner Food Bank, representatives from various food assistance organizations expressed concerns that potential cuts would disproportionately impact seniors and children. The cuts could lead to an increased demand at food banks, which already struggle to meet existing needs. Meals on Wheels New Mexico warned that reduced SNAP and Medicaid funding could force them to reinstate wait lists, making it harder for vulnerable individuals to access meals and essential services.
Many of our seniors rely on SNAP for groceries and Medicaid for essential services, including meal delivery.
That's the voice of Renee Rubal, the Chief Advancement Officer for Meals on Wheels New Mexico.
Medicaid is also an important part of how we plan to grow and serve more people in the future. So if these programs face more cuts, more New Mexicans will turn to us for help, but at a time when we have fewer resources to meet that growing need.
The proposed budget cuts stem from conflicting resolutions in the House and Senate. The House plan, backed by President Donald Trump, would require deep reductions in SNAP and Medicaid to extend Trump's 2017 tax cuts. House Republicans have proposed cutting $230 billion from spending over the next decade, with SNAP being a primary target due to its large budget. The House bill could slash SNAP funding by over 20%, either by reducing benefits or tightening eligibility requirements, or both. In contrast, the Senate resolution proposes a much smaller cut of $1 billion over the same period. Democratic lawmakers, including Stansberry and Senator Ben Ray Lujan, are actively opposing the House proposal, arguing it would harm millions of Americans while benefiting the wealthy. Stansberry emphasized that the budget would cut essential programs like Medicaid, food assistance, and tax breaks for single parents as well. She warned that House Republicans aim to pass the budget by May or June, urging opposition to block cuts before they take effect.
They're going to cut Medicaid for millions of Americans. They're going to cut food assistance for millions of Americans. They're going to cut tax breaks for single parents. And they're going to cut life-saving programs that help millions of Americans survive so that they can give tax breaks to millionaires. Now, what I want to emphasize is that even though this is their evil plan, we can stop them.
If these cuts move forward, many New Mexicans could face increased food insecurity, with food banks struggling to fill the gap left by SNAP reductions. Advocates are urging Congress to reconsider these changes to protect the most vulnerable populations. Following a strong 27-win season, the UNM Lobos saw their NCAA tournament run end with a 71-63 loss to Michigan State on Sunday. As head coach Richard Pitino processed the season's end, he also had to quickly shift focus to the NCAA transfer portal that opened less than an hour after the game. Pitino expressed frustration with the portal opening immediately after March Madness eliminations, arguing that it should be delayed until April to allow players and coaches time to reflect. Despite his concerns, the reality of college basketball meant UNM faced roster changes right away. 2 Lobos entered the transfer portal on Monday: Quentin Webb, a third-year guard with 2 years of eligibility remaining, who played limited minutes over 2 seasons, and Shane Doma Sanchez, a walk-on who never played for UNM and had already left the team in November following an alleged altercation with a teammate, which led to a lawsuit. Pitino and his staff will spend the week shaping next season's roster, targeting transfers, especially big men, to replace departing starters Nelly Jr. Joseph and Mustafa Amzil. Meetings with current players will begin today, with Pitino emphasizing that no returning players are being pushed out. As the offseason unfolds, UNM must navigate, quote, portal combat while maintaining the core of their team. And Albuquerque shoppers will soon be able to pick up clothing and beauty products in a one-stop shop, as Sephora shops are set to open inside the city's 2 co-locations at 6800 Holly Northeast and 3715 Ellison Northwest on the west side. These small format Sephora shops are part of a nationwide expansion with over 100 Kohl's locations integrating the beauty retailer. The Holly location is expected to open this Friday, while the Ellison store is set to launch on April 11th, though dates may change. Local shoppers have expressed excitement about the addition, especially after the Coronado Center Kohl's location closed in 2023. With Sephora now inside Kohl's, Albuquerque shoppers can now expect a more convenient way to purchase makeup, fragrances, and hair product while also shopping for apparel. Now taking a look at Albuquerque's weather forecast. Today you can expect sunny skies with a high near 79, and for this evening mostly clear with a low around 45. If you like hearing all of the latest news from the Albuquerque Journal here on The Leading News, consider becoming a digital subscriber using the discount code found in our show notes. A digital subscription allows you to keep up with all the latest news on abqjournal.com. I'm Gino Gutierrez. The Leading News will be back tomorrow.